good, man. We're
Hey
golden.
now.
Now we're golden. Now
Golden
we
Pony Boy.
exactly. Now we're the Opinionated podcast. We have a very special guest. If you're a kid of the '80s, if you grew up in the '80s until now, if you watch cartoons like I did, we have David Kaye.
If
You
you
gotta
watched any cartoon, it's a good chance that you heard this man's voice.
Oh God, I don't know.
yeah. So
I don't know. There's a
No.
lot
so
I there's a lot I wanted to do that didn't do, but yeah, there's a few of them.
yeah.
Oh, we're
Really?
gonna get into that. Let's start
Trust,
off there,
trust,
Kim. Start off early.
trust me. We listen.
We're gonna get into that.
So you was grown. You grew up in Canada. I see right here, and
Yeah,
as
yeah.
growing up as Canada young child, being a voice actor for cartoons and stuff like that. What were some of the cartoons like you watched that was out? Because back then you had Scooby Doo, the Jetsons,
Yeah, all of that
Yogi
stuff,
Bear,
man.
Looney Tunes.
I watched all of that. I watched a lot of those shows. Bugs Bunny. And it's kind of weird because my buddy Eric Bauza, he's this Filipino Canadian kid, and he's the new Bugs Bunny, and
Oh,
Wow.
you know
wow.
what I mean. So I grew up on Mel Blanc. I grew up on all those crazy characters. Tex Avery, some weird stuff. I didn't. I watched. I remember watching some GI Joe, but a lot of stuff I watched. I was into Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. My friend and I were all into monsters and masks and. A guy named was it Ray Harryhausen? He was a British guy, made all these crazy masks. The early Dracula. I was into the Phantom of the Opera, the old black and white stuff. I always freaked me out as a kid. I still prefer the original. It was scary to me, and I was a big fan. It was uh, what was it? The Christmas Carol. It was Charles Dickens, the old original black and white one. That's the
It was
stuff
creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. There's something about those old movies, man. I still love them. And so all that informed me as a kid growing up to come up. I was mimicking and coming up with these voices. Little did I know that it would actually lead to something. I just thought I was being an idiot, in school and getting in trouble and being put in the hall and you know, um, yeah. So it's and you guys, telling me that is, I mean, that hits me in the heart because you don't really think of that as a when you're doing these voices and characters from your when somebody says I grew up with you and I want it's pretty surreal to think because
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's
It's
I
true.
just
Yeah.
It's true.
I'm still I'm like mid to late 50s somewhere in there, and I'm still basically a kid goofing around. I've never really haven't changed since second grade.
Oh
I
shit.
love that.
I love that. Now you brought up a legendary name in Mel Blanc. He was the
Yeah.
voice of Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny,
Hmm.
Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, Woody Woodpecker,
Yeah.
Barney from the Flintstones, like Mr. Spacely. Like, do you see him as like maybe one of the goats of voice actors?
Oh
Because
my
he
God.
grew a
Yeah.
lot of people up.
Yeah. Greatest of all time, no doubt. I mean, it just was flawless. I just did thing. He opened his mouth and it just happened, and I see that in Eric Bauza, who's taken over the Bugs Bunny stuff. It just I don't know what it is. It just happens, and all my career in life, all I wanted to do is to kind of when I get a script in or something to read it on the computer, I open my mouth and something happens. That's the hope, because sometimes it doesn't always happen, and you're searching around. But all these voices and stuff I come up with, they're all from my past. They're all from real people I've heard. They're all from man. You want to pick up some voices? Go to Vegas and sit like in a corner bar in a casino somewhere. Just sit there with a beer or your favorite beverage and listen to people walk by and talk, because you're going to hear all this is it's all gold. It's all there's the guy with the thing in his I'm going to be over here at the slot machines talking about, and that's a real person, right? And there's the other guy that's kind of talking like this, and, oh my God, that's a real person. And it's literally they're real people, and so you take all that, and sometimes you get a script in and you look at it and go, well, that kind of works for that. So Yeah,
Wow.
all my life has been basically homework leading up to this because it's all in my head. It's all I hear these voices in my head, all the time. There was a guy today. We just got back from lunch out in Ventura, and there's a table beside us, an older guy, an older gentleman, and he's there with his wife, his granddaughter, and he's talking like this, and we're just gonna. I tried to get them to get some desserts there, but they weren't biting on it. They didn't want to have. And he's talking, and I go, "Oh my God, listen to his voice. It's wonderful." So
How do you store those voices in your memory banks?
I don't know. It's weird. Like for example, you guys remember Beast Wars? The Transformers
Yes,
thing.
that was one of
So
my favorite when they
so
came
uh,
out.
so so this guy, like when I remember getting the audition, man, I was must have been back in what
6,
90.
96.
So
Well, it came out
it would have
96.
yeah. So it would have been 94 that we were reading for this stuff, right? And I guess I got the yes button. I got it handy. But I remember going in. I had no idea about the original G1 series, right? And I had a stack of papers, and it's like it's like what do you call it? They call it the Bible, where it's like all the characters, the relationship to each other,
Oh,
drawings. They have like a description, what they might sound like, and I'm looking. I'm looking at all this stuff. And this is going to be fun. Transformers, cool. I think I remember hearing about that. And I'm going through I'm leafing through, and I go, well, there's the bad guy. I'm going to go for him, and there's the good guy. I'll go for him. And then there's a couple ancillary characters I was going to read for. But I remember Megatron kind of. I looked at it, and it was kind of very Shakespearean to me, and the way it was written, sort of. And thank God I paid attention a little bit in English, because I'm like, other than that, and I thought, well, who are the English Shakespearean types that I think of? I think, okay, Anthony Hopkins he's one of it, and then there's Sean Connery and James Bond, and I think, well. What if I kind of, mess around and come up with this, yes, excellent, to be or not to be, that is the question. But
Holy
never
shit.
remind yourself of the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Herein lies the
Dang.
rub. I mean, it's this whole, like, so I kind of went with that. I put a bit of a lisp in it because he's a obviously a dinosaur. So yes, there's a thing. And so I kind of created this voice, and they liked it, and they called me back for both Optimus and Megatron, and I got to the callback when there's nobody else in the room, and I went, "Oh, this is kind of cool. I'm the only one in the waiting room." And they read me for Optimus first, and I can't remember what I did for him. And then I remember Megatron, and I remember behind the glass, they're all kind of nodding their head. They're all, they're all like meerkats, like that. And so that's what they bought, because literally, to be honest with you guys, I went in, I had no idea what I was going to do. I like some people, you may talk to actors, and they're like, oh well, I scripted the page, and I wrote some stuff, and I thought of it, and I watched the movie. I had nothing. I had literally nothing.
but do you understand how legendary those characters was in your role? Like for us,
Absolutely.
when
Yeah,
Beast Wars came out for me as a kid, it was Reboot and Beast
yeah,
Wars. It was his
yeah. That's
first
right. Reboot.
digital cartoon. It was something so new. And I grew up on Transformers, so to
Yeah,
get the voice as one of the legendary guys is Megatron, because remember, like Megatron had the raspy voice in the original Transformers. Prime.
yeah.
I
Frank. Yeah,
can't do it that
Frankie.
good,
Yeah, Frankie. Yeah, yeah.
but we grew up on as like young kids. We grew up on your Megatron watching them Beast Wars, like.
So that's so cool, because it's like it makes me, I'm speechless, because we just thought, we went in and did this thing, and we're all joking around and doing voices, and there's other cartoons. We're having this show where we used to go in the morning, man, and record this at old Pinewood Studios, which is now it's a tall I haven't been to Vancouver for many years. But it's a condo complex. It's, like everything. There's nothing there now but buildings. And we used to sit in and have coffee, and we used to tell stories and goof around and joke, and then we'd kind of run through the script, and we'd go in and we record it. And we never really thought about that's all we sort of thought about. And then it was not till many years later, when I was in TF Animated, is Optimus, and it was Bumper Robinson, and I and Tara Strong, and we were on a panel, and some woman put her hand up and said, so I just want to say, thank you so much for, you guys are great, and and her little boy was there. I just wanted, this is my little boy. I can't remember his name. I think it was Carson or something like that. And he's and she said, I just want to let you know that my son was in hospital for a long time, and he had some serious. I don't know what, he was fine, but he went through some. I think he went to hell and back, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
But she said, I just want to let you know. She started to tear up. Said, he watched the cartoons, and I think it really kept him going, and it kept him positive, and it kept him. I went, oh, it kind of just nailed me, and I went,
Yeah.
and that's when I kind of thought, oh, you know what? Because I used to think all my friends had these really cool jobs, like architects and doctors and lawyers and teachers and stuff, and they're all great jobs. I thought they're doing important work, brain surgery, saving people's lives. But then she said that to me, and I went, okay, that lands, because we do something that does help people. And I've had letters written, and people tell me that you're the character you played, and then it helps. I think I'm the reason you're the character is because I'm alive today. It's like, whoa. So I don't take it for granted. I never did, but I really don't take it for granted anymore, because it's, as I guess is what we do, is we tell stories, we create characters, and it's the same idea. If I digress just a second here, one of my mentors, Don LaFontaine, who invented "In a World," reason why I do trailers is as a Don, and he invented that phrase "in a
In the
world."
world.
Because when he was at Paramount, he wrote those words. Because when you go to a movie theater, think about this. When you go, have you guys been in the movie theater recently?
Yes, I
Yeah.
went
Yes.
just a couple
So,
days ago.
man, I miss. It's such a great experience for me. And you go in there, and the lights come down, and there's all of a sudden the scene that it comes up, and a voice is "in a world many
Yeah.
years ago," and it takes you out of the shitty life that you may be having on the outdoors, and takes you into this wonderful other world, and it takes you out of yourself and into this thing, and you don't
Yep.
want to think about what you want to be immersed in this, and that's what the voice is supposed to do. So it takes you out of this
That's crazy.
into something, in this other world that and it makes us all feel good. Um, so I realized then that yeah, what we do is important, because it's and I tell people that, never take it for granted what you're doing. Maybe doing a goofy voice and having fun, but you're making somebody's else. Bringing joy to people, and that's all I really think about these days. I'm rambling a bit here, but I just kind of
No, not at all. Not at
my
all.
Nah, go
my
ahead.
publicist Michelle. I always used to say, well, like, what am I? What am I? She says, listen, I want you. It was during the pandemic, when it was all the height of the pandemic, and it was pretty dark. We were all feeling pretty crappy, and we weren't really to know what was going to happen, and people are dying. She said, listen, your job is not to other people I thought were making great comments, and I wanted to support. He said, listen, she said, your job is to bring joy to people. I really keep it simple, and that's what I want you to focus on. So that's what I do. That's what I try and do, is just to bring a little joy to someone.
Wow.
And that's it. That really is the,
Dude,
from goofing around in second grade and being sent to the hall ends up, creating joy for somebody. Well, I'm all in. I'll do that. I'll do it over again. I do that again.
you see, you don't understand. Like, growing up as a kid, you gave us valuable lessons that you don't remember probably being General Hawk and GI Joe, and
Yeah.
at the end known as half the battle.
Yeah. I know. I
The true
That
know.
American hero.
the true
Yeah.
American hero. We would
Yeah.
All kids at that age would stay and watch GI Joe just to get that message, and you would try to apply it as a kid going out in the
Yeah.
streets. It didn't work all the time, but we
No.
tried to apply it to
That's
our life.
right. Well, it's all look, Stan Lee. As you guys know, Stan Lee. I mean,
Yeah.
his vision from the beginning, and this man was way ahead of his time. All about inclusion and positivity, and he was all about that. And I'm so glad I got to meet him before he passed, because I wanted to tell him that. Uh, he was one of the well, I mean, the OG, man. I mean, it's the original. I don't know. Stan to me was like this. It's too bad Jack Kirby couldn't have stuck around a little longer. as well. But Stan meant a lot to a lot of us growing up, for many things. And I remember meeting Stan. Was Mark Hamill and I and Stan Lee and all these people were in doing some Avengers Assemble. And I played Jarvis in Avengers Assemble. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Of course, sir. Incoming, sir. Yes, I would do all that stuff for Iron Man. Then I eventually became the Paul Bettany character, Vision. Who's a version of this sort of thing here? Yes, I'm a symbiote, sir. Yes, sir. So a bit of a raspy voice, like a Paul Bettany. So became that, and then I was cast as a few other characters in Avengers Assemble, and then they cast me as Ben von Simo. So Ben von Simo, this here, yeah, he plays a vital role and dies a wonderful death at the end of his scene, and at the end of the series. And Stanley came in on that when I was working with Hamill, and I was doing Baron, and they brought us all in, and there he is sitting there, all 93 years old of him, you know. And he says, "What and what character do you do?" And I said, "Oh, Mr. I just want to say, I mean, you were the reason I'm doing this, and I was 7 reading your comics, and he said, very nice. Give me a little Zemo. Give me what's he sound like?" And I said, "Well, Mr. Stanley, it's Vernon von Zemo. It's a pleasure to meet you." And whatever I did, and he said, "Oh, very good, very good. Yes, excellent." And we got a picture taken together, and it was just like, oh my God! So I met my hero, who created these stories, and when I read as a kid in the comic books, and I went away into my world thanks to Stan Lee. But yeah, man.
So, all right. So we're like quiet, letting you talk because first of all,
yeah, just,
my brain is no. My brain just blew a freaking gasket just now. Blew a gasket. Number one, you said you met Stan Lee.
Yeah, man.
Number one, and you was in there with Mark Hamill. Like,
yeah, it was Mark's birthday. And here's another little inside thing. So we're in the episode, and because Stan's, he's older, and he leaves, and we all had a little hey, and they left, and we're all okay. Okay, guys, back to work, and we're all finished out our scene. He did his little cameo, and I think it was Roger Craig Smith that noticed the size of the font on Stan's. He would sit. I always stand when I do work. It keeps me open. But he sat down, and on his stand there with the microphone, the font he was reading from was like this big, and we're all and Roger, look at the size of the font, we're all like, oh my God, yeah. And Mark Hamill says, "Hey, we should all be so lucky to have font that big one day." And then we all laugh. Yes, isn't that true? Let us live to be that long to have font that big. And yeah, and there was a cake for Mark. I mean, for me, it was a surreal day because it's like, Luke Skywalker and and Stanley.
Batman.
We're all like, yeah, all that stuff. The Joker, of course. And I always think to myself, look, what am I doing in here? What the heck? How did I get? So that's another thing I deal with. When they ask me to do these things, I keep thinking, well, is there anybody else? Did you think of it? Yeah, sure. They want me, huh? Okay.
I see why.
You don't understand. Like, one of the most legendary cartoons I watched, and I don't know if you know how big it was. It's one of the biggest animes out there. You was a part of Dragon Ball Z, and in part of one of the series that actually blew the lid off the anime, which was the Frieza saga, which you were a part of the Ginyu Force as Raccoon. Like, how did you?
Raccoon rhymes with doom.
Raccoon boom.
Too soon. Yeah, Raccoon.
No, we got to get a clean one of that again. So I remember you asked him. You asked Goku, "Hey guys, what's this guy's power level?"
Hey guys, what's this guy's power level? See, here's the thing. Anime, we did that in Vancouver at the Ocean Group. We used to come in separately all the time. Like, I hardly saw anybody else who was in the show. When we're doing prelay cartoons like the G.I. Joe and stuff, we're all in there. It's like a radio play. But on those on anime, you come in and there's 3 beeps, beep beep beep, and then you follow the lip flaps and you try and fit the dialogue that they've translated into your character's line. And so you'll come in for an hour or two and go through all your lines. Oh, take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. And then you leave, and you have no idea who else is in the show. we did 7 seasons of Inuyasha, and I had no idea who anybody else was except Richard, because I Richard's a friend of mine. And I knew he was in it. But same as Dragon Ball Z, I didn't know who else was in it until we got to a convention. I go, oh, you're that guy, or that's you. You're the. So yeah, it's a bit disjointed when you do an anime. They give you the director gives you the backstory, like, okay, in this scene, this is what's happening, so and so, because this happened and that happened. So you're getting set up because the script is like that thick.
Yeah.
You only do your lines, and so you had to get the backstory most of the time from the director telling you what's going on. You go, okay, you're imagining what's happening. Okay, and then you got to fit the lip flaps and the dialogue into the flaps that are already drawn from the anime. So yeah, it's a bit of a skill. Once you get the hang of it, it's easy. But yeah, and having to yell and scream and fight is
In all animes, I'm sorry, that's in every anime.
There's a lot of that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and you have to know how to, because you can blow the cords out, man, if you're not careful. And you're next day you're like talking like you can't do that.
Yeah, because you just breezed over one thing that's you're goaded in another cartoon as one of the main protagonists in Inuyasha is Shishimaru,
No.
who was Inuyasha's brother. Like, do you like how many people come up to yeah, how many people come up to you and stop you when they see you at, I know you go do Comic-Con, like, hey, you were Shishimaru and I wanted to be this guy, or you see people dressed as your character.
Yeah, it's great. I was at a Game On Expo in Phoenix a little while ago, and a lot of people, come over, and it was a game con. I go to some conventions, and you're there for a particular reason or character, but at every one of these, there's a large swath of folks that will come over because my association with Inuyasha and currently Yashahime, and just Shomer characters. And he says that, man, I got to tell you, that was one of the coolest anime gigs because it got to be sort of an inside joke in the studio. I'd come in, that's when I was living in Canada at the time, and I come in, literally they had a chair set for me. I'd kind of sit back and put my legs up, and there was like low-level lighting because I hate light. I'm like a vampire like that way. I like low-level lighting, I like the mood, it sets everything up. And this character is kind of dark, but he's, I just started talking like this, and I just did that. And he doesn't scream or yell. And it was the most relaxing hour or two I had doing animation, doing this character, because he was just hanging out, jocking, no jocking. I have to go and sit in my lounger, just chill out, and I just loved that character. But it's so many people over the years come up to me, and that's what they grew up with. That's their show, and so I'm always worried that if I tell them that story, they're going to think I didn't care. I did. I just loved because I could just relax. I didn't have to do anything, Yeah,
That's an awesome gig. That's what that
You
sounds
are
like.
blowing. But you
sounds
don't
amazing.
understand. You
For
are
real.
you're blowing my mind right now
Yeah.
because I watched Inuyasha in and out.
So
Like,
now you know.
oh my
You
god,
can just sit,
you
you
just
can
like
picture me sort of sitting, no jocking, no, not this time, and we go on. Okay, all right, got that one. On to the next one. And the greatest bits were when there were no lip flaps or his head was turned away, so you didn't have to fill it. You could actually take your time and try and you really act the scene. You know what's going on. My favorites were no lip flaps because it's like, oh, no, pressure's off now. Now it's even more relaxing.
When you get these parts, and I know you kind of breezed, we talked about it earlier, like what really goes into just finding these characters? I know there's an interesting story with each of them, but like to me, to have that many voices on tap just in your brain, like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do this guy, like, hey, what do you know what I'm saying? Like, like, where do you find that?
Well, it's like I said earlier, it's sort of so I want each of you, in your daily lives to start listening to people, because that's really where it's from. It's about listening. I always say every character you do has to have a heart and a soul, has to live and breathe, cry, laugh. It has to be, it's a part of you, a part of who you are. And I always say bring truth to any role you do, because you can tell when you hear something and you just think, I don't believe that person. I don't believe them. It sounds like they're reading, or it sounds like they're not. The character. My goal and my job is to try and really bring truth to a character and make it real, land it. Like when the Clank character came up, almost 20 years ago now. Holy
Ratchet,
crap!
Ratchet
You
and
know,
Clank.
Ratchet
Yes,
and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank.
So it was a paragraph. It's different from the Transformers world where they had all this stuff and information, to the point of like, I don't know what to do. Clank, it came with a paragraph. Okay, it's a robotic character, but we don't want him to sound too robotic. We want him to have a personality, and blah 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 blah. And that was it. And there was some dialogue, and I don't know, it was like one page, and it filled like the top quarter of it. It was nothing. I thought, geez, I don't know. And I started talking like, okay, a robot would be robotic, but I wanted to bring some humanity to him. So I would, instead of saying the word, can't, I would just, say, I cannot, Ratchet. I cannot. This is not what I want to. I just, you know what I mean? I didn't. What's that word called? Maybe I didn't spend enough time in English class. When
Short it.
the can't or the cannot. I just made sure I gave him a bit of a robotic sense in that sense, but I really wanted to make people cry with this character. And I had an opportunity as it got into the movie where there's that scene where they first meet, and the end where it's like, but Ratchet, you're my best friend. I wanted people to feel something like, oh my God. And he's a robot. So I wanted him to have a soul and breathe. And that's what I tell everybody who's creating characters. This is part of who you are as a human. So it's got to be in there, got to be believable. Wow. So you hear. Here's another thing, just a bit of thing. Bob Odenkirk from Better Call Saul and the Breaking Bad series. He did a little snippet on was it TikTok or something? I can't remember. And people say, people ask me about acting, and how do you this, and what's important, and how do you get? He said, you know what? At the end of the day, make living your life the most important thing. Make that number one. And it may be acting number 2, 3, 4. Make your friends, your family, make you living your life number one, because as an actor, all that, the important stuff, what's the word I'm looking for? It helps us create this character because we have experience, we have life experience. If you travel, if you read, if you do as many things as you can to be curious about the world around you, that influences how you're going to play that character and how you're going to play, this character. There's a reference point. So again, it goes all the way back to the word truth. To be truthful, to be true to yourself and true to the character, that has to come through. Whether you're doing a cartoon character, or I'm reading something for Fox Sports, or I'm reading something for whatever, it has to be real. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I understand it because you was on another show that had many characters that you played many roles in Ben 10.
Oh God,
Everyone
yeah,
in all these different characters from Cannonball. I see you was the
yeah.
grandfather.
Yeah, that was like every day you're exhausted. Okay, what are they going to throw at me today? But that's one of the reasons why they hire you. They wanted people in that series who could come with a bag full of tricks. Grandpa Max is and I was Omniverse. I played a bunch of things, but when it was Grandpa Max, I was cast in. I was like, okay, now I guess I'm getting older because I'm getting robots and grandpas now, which is that a good thing? I guess. But Grandpa Max is
Range.
basically, basically me. Like, come on, Ben, what the Sam Hill? Like, it's like that's like my uncle or my dad or whatever. That's who Grandpa Max is. But he has a backstory because there's a lot going on, a lot more to Grandpa Max than we realize. And then the characters, the aliens, that was fun. You have to kind of use your, Frankenstrike. I use like Frankenberry, the cereal we all grew up with. Remember the Count Chocula and
Yeah.
I use that sort of voice, Frankenberry. I got from that, and there was some old TV show I come up with, Skurd. I think it was Robbie the Robot or something, and his voice was in here. He talked like this all the time, very musical, and I don't know. They did something with that, and then there's the Shock Squatch from Omniverse. That's my Uncle Terry. Hey, Uncle Terry, he's from Canada, eh? So I threw that in a bit there, the accent. He's big and kind of goofy. Hey, pull my finger. I've been that kind of guy. So you just kind of start playing around
I'm
because they're
geeking out.
they're gonna ask you to. You're a cannonball. Cannonball. You know, I mean, so or was it cannon blast or ball? I can't remember.
No, it was Cannonball. I
It
think
was,
no,
yeah.
it was Cannonball. Cannonball.
Cannonball. Thank you.
Yeah.
God, I'm getting old. You see, I can't remember anything anymore. But yeah,
I'm geeking.
so
I can't.
that's a real character too. Like think about our elders. Think about your grandfather, and think about the people you see in the street. There's people that talk like this when I was a young one, and they get a little sloppy because their addiction is not as good, or they've had a couple of beer or something, you know, and it all comes from a different part of the body. It comes from sometimes it comes from up here. Sometimes it comes from here. The softness in the voice from Sesshomaru is, you know, breathy and comes from this area. You know, so you can make some people bigger.
You can make some people very small, very tiny.
And you just, I don't know, man.
How do you practice that? How do you practice?
I just kind of just start talking. You can't ever be afraid to grow up. I'll tell you that much. You can never grow up because you got to keep playing. And I'll be in the car. We moved out to Ventura County last year from LA, but I still drive into LA, and so I had like 50 minutes, 45 minutes or so. If I have to go in for anything, I might sit in the car and I make sure nobody can see me because I mean, if people can see me around, they're gonna go, "What's with this guy?" And you can, and here's another little game I can play, and you're going to start doing this. I know it because it's when you're driving, you see somebody walking, and every one of us has a different kind of walk or a thing. It's like you imagine if we were aliens and we'd look at our human beings, go, "These are weird beings, man." And you see people, the way they walk or whatever, they have a certain gait, and you imagine what they might sound like. You know, I've seen people cross the street, and I'll give them voices. And I'll just sort of give them a voice, and sometimes some gold comes out, and I can use it.
I think if I'm by myself, then I would 100% do that. If I'm with my
yeah.
wife, she's gonna look at me like, "Get out."
Yeah, I know.
sure.
You got to be number one. You got to be by yourself. Make sure no one else can see you doing it. And if you see somebody walking, just come up with a little, hey man, what for this guy here, maybe. And if you're an Appalachia up in there like that in the hillbilly, you get that, or you're in New York and you're in New Jersey, you see some guy walking across, hey, fuck you, hey, come on, hey, and something happens, and you just kind of mimic things that you think they might sound like. It's fun.
Can I tell you something weird?
It passes time.
Can I tell you something weird?
Yeah.
The funny thing is because, and this is just me thinking after you said that, if we try to mimic things, the things that's going to come to my mind is the stuff that we heard you do in the past.
Yeah.
Those are the voices that I do, especially if I
know.
like bring it way down here and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going off of.
But let me tell you something else. And a valuable piece of information is nobody like you. And it sounds kind of like, oh, kumbaya. But look, you were. It wasn't until I was. I've been scratching trailers for, I don't know, 13, 15 years, whatever. And I'm starting to get hire a little more, and they're asking for me, and I'm starting to get a little, it's taking a long time because it's a tough business to crack and to maintain. But I was so frustrated one day. It was, I guess, about maybe 4 or 5 years ago that the Clint Eastwood movie came out. Was the Olympics in Atlanta? Richard Jewell, I think it was, and I had some success up until that point. And then I looked at it and went, man, I was having one of those days where I don't know what I'm doing. Is this any good? What? And I got the script, and it was a very short script, and sometimes these trailers are, and it basically said, Richard Jewell in theaters Friday, in theaters next Thursday, blah blah blah, rated PG-13. And I went, I'm just going to do that because I haven't got a clue. I just did nothing. I just stepped up, went Richard Jewell, rated PG-13. And because I watched the trailer that's online first, you kind of get a feel for the music and what it's like, and you kind of just give a few reads in ABC or whatever, and a couple different versions, and send it in. And I went, who knows, man? That's all I got. And of course, they called me and says, "Hey, they love you for the Clint Eastwood movie, and also they want to put you on Warner Brothers. Want you to put you on some other film that's coming out with so and so in it, and they want to know if." I said, "Wow." I didn't do anything. And my manager said, "Exactly."
perfect. You're
I go,
perfect.
oh, right. I just did me. Yeah. He said because I do a lot of trailers with like character work. I did Harry Potter, the last one. You know,
Oh, my
what was
wife will
the
know.
what was the last one that came out?
Oh man, my wife is in the other room.
It's not Magnificent Beast. It's like the one
No,
after
no,
that.
no, no.
Yeah, no, the recent one, Magnificent Beasts or whatever. And I do the characters like this, sort of English. In theaters Friday, Magnificent Beasts 3, Harry, or whatever. And so they're characters, but they're grounded in reality. But finally, I booked a trailer that was just my voice, and it took me so many years because we're all trying to put on a voice. We have masks on every day that we we're out in public, and we're sometimes we're different people around different people, and you have to strip it all off and just be you. And the sooner you get to that point, that's when things start happening. Because it's really hard to back me up on this, to be comfortable with who we are, and it's
Yeah.
taken me a long freaking time to get to that point. It's hard because we have an idea of ourselves, and it's not till we say, you know what, I don't care anymore. This is who I am. Blah, and that's when the magic starts to happen because now you're not trying to do anybody else. You're just doing what makes you human.
Wow.
It's hard to explain. Does that make sense?
No,
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 absolutely.
it does total.
no, it
Yeah.
makes sense. I think me and Dre, we had did a show. We was talking about that. He was
Yeah.
having doubts about himself, about everything. Because me and him used to do music, and I was like, bro, you're great at the music you do. Like, stop doubting yourself. Like, and
Yeah,
it,
that's
and it,
it. Yeah. It's
it
so easy to do. It's so easy to, because I'm uber critical. Here's something else I'll lay on you that on this show that I've not said too many times at all, that there are very few shows that I've ever seen the entire series or even an entire episode of what I've done, because I watch it and I go, I'm so disappointed. I'm disappointed in me. Why I could have done that better. I could have done this. So when people ask me this question, if you were approached to do Megatron again and another thing, I first thing is yes, sir, I would absolutely bring it, because now I've been on the planet a little longer. I have more point of reference. I can bring some more nuance and history to the character that I didn't really have when I was how old was I? Back in 94, 95. So yeah, so you're a different person in your teens and your 20s and 30s and 40s, and there's just more you can draw on. And I go, oh God, I could have really done something with that line. I mean, you, you can't
but
do
do
that
you
all the time.
but do you understand? Like, you were epic in all the roles that you talk about back then, and all the stuff that we watch. You were epic in everything. Like, for us as people watching you do these voices, like, yo, when I went over your Wikipedia, I'm like, yo, you were my Megatron for my Beast Wars. I know that voice. When you did the voice, I like got goosebumps. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't think it can ever be touched again. That Megatron for that Beast Wars, I'm like, that was
That's
just
cool, man. You say that because it's you're gonna make me cry. So shut up for a second.
No, for real, you really like controlled a block of our weekend. Saturday and Sunday, we were devoted to watching all of these shows, and you are the voice that we listen to. Saturday mornings, waking up, cereal before we went out to play or
Oh,
anything. First thing we did was listen to your characters, watch the shows that you have voices on,
yeah.
and you pretty much control blocks of time for us throughout the days of the weekend.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same thing I did when I was growing up. I had the same, what cereal? What was the cereal? Remember the cereal? What was your favorite cereal?
Oh man, I was eating Lucky Charms, Frosted
Fruit
Flakes
Loops.
back then, Fruit Loops,
Captain
Frosted Flakes,
Crunch.
Honey Nut
Captain
Cheerios,
Crunch,
Cap'n Crunch.
Captain Crunch, and Frosted Flakes were mine. And I always, because of course we all met me. They're great,
Great.
But yeah, it was my number one was Frosted Flakes, Tony the Tiger. Captain Crunch is number two. But my mother would never buy Captain Crunch. Used to piss me off because,
Well, we don't. It's too expensive. We're not buying Captain Crunch. I go, come on, everybody's got Captain. Why can't we have Captain Crunch?
I used to get in fights with my mother about, but
buy one box of Captain Crunch. And then she come back with a fake brand in Canada. We had this. What was the brand? It was
Croco Crunch.
I don't know. It was
It was a
something.
store brand.
It was a store brand. It might have
Okay.
been. It was one of those like, but this isn't Cap. It's the same thing. No, it's not. There's no
It's
Cap.
not.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I did the same thing. There was these weird cartoons. Growing up on other side of upstate New York. Growing up near Toronto, and I used to watch all Buffalo TV, Promo the Robot, and all these cartoons. Wizard of Oz. What was it? Some of the cartoons I grew up. Wizard of Oz. There's a funny, funny place where everyone wears a funny, funny face. I love that cartoon. I love all these weird cartoons. But all my influences coming from Buffalo, coming from Rochester, New York, because I watched those channels.
Right.
And then the one station in Canada we watched was Mr. Dress Up, which it's a real Canadian thing, and Casey and Finnegan, and I look back and that was kind of creepy, but that's what we grew up with. But I mostly grew up with all Captain Kangaroo and all this stuff across the border. But that's my child. Same thing. Cereal, cartoons, Saturday mornings. That was it. And afternoons, Flintstones. And it was and that's all that stuff. So
I want to go back to something that you said, because you said sometimes you look at your work and you kind of, you kind of wish you did it another way.
Mhm.
I see that you did some Marvel movie characters here.
yeah, quite a few. Yeah,
That's where, listen, I'm a Marvel head. We're all geeks, if you can't tell. I'm definitely a geek. This guy is a geek.
Oh, yeah.
He's a cooler geek up
Yeah.
here. So when you go back and watch like movies like Infinity War, Endgame, because I believe you played Corvus Glaive in both of those movies.
Yeah.
And also when you go and look at like just other movies that you've done, I can't see you looking at those and say, man, I could have did that better. To me, it's perfect.
Well, gosh, thank you. I mean, we're all our own worst critic in that. But when I get a chance to work with Chloe Zhao on the Eternals recently, that was a I was pleased with it, because when we went to the movie theater, my wife and I, it was a Wednesday afternoon here. It was when things were starting to kind of open up here, and there's like 4 people in the movie theater, because I thought, okay, it'll be safe because no one's going to be going to the 2:30 showing on a Wednesday. And it was great. And the smell of popcorn, I walked in and went, smell that. Smell that. I haven't smelled for 2 years. Smell of popcorn.
Beautiful.
I'm alive. And we sat up, and I could not go to the premiere. My publicist, we were working on it, trying to get it, but it was a very small thing because there was still, heavy pandemic protocol. And it turned out there was actually at the premieres there was a few cases of COVID that popped up, and I said, well, you know what, that's a good thing I didn't go. I still would have liked to have gone to a thing, but being directed by Chloe Zhao for that movie was really cool, and I wanted to be good in that.
You played Erisham the judge, correct?
Erisham, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was go. I shall return for judgment. It's yeah. Yeah. Cersei, it is time. We did a few sessions, and it was very cloak and dagger. It's so great. They used to bring the script out, and it was a very secretive sort of thing. It was like, hand the script over and erase everything out, don't talk about it, don't mention anything. Blah, blah, blah. It was really, you don't talk about
Anything Marvel.
You don't talk about Fight Club. You don't talk. Yeah, but they but the way Chloe, I was such a fan of hers. It's a very different style and feel of a Marvel movie, as you know.
Yes.
It sort of takes time to expand in this universe, and I quite enjoyed it. But when I heard I bristled up a bit, and I knew, because here comes the scene, because I could see the character, and I'm like nervous. My palms are sweaty. I'm thinking, oh man, and I hear my voice from this character in this movie theater in the speakers and the way it sounds, and I kind of went, wow, because I was
Amazing.
One of the very few moments, and look, this is just me, but I was proud of what I did here, because it goes back to when I was 12 years old in a comic book shop in my hometown in Canada with a friend who passed away this past year unexpectedly of a heart attack, and one of the last
Sorry to
people
hear that.
anybody to ever thank you. But he was the kid who had a part-time. He was the first part-time job in a bookstore, down these old stairs, creaky old wooden stairs, the smell of that dusty paper, that comic. I remember comics everywhere in boxes, and his job was to put them in, order and to sell them. And I would hang out with him on Saturdays all day going. And I remember the moment that came on, and I thought about Dave because I remember him introducing me to Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and in particular, the Eternals. And there were 6 issues of the Eternals. Jack Kirby, I remember, and he said, "Here, take a look at these," sort of thing. And I just sat. I remember going through them. I remember these characters because they weren't. So we weren't very familiar with those characters. They were very unfamiliar. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. It was quite a surreal moment to think that here's because of my friend introducing me to these damn comics as a kid, and I'm playing this character on the screen in this Marvel movie, and I said, "Whoa," that was one of those moments. I went, "All right, okay, this is great," So,
So it's safe.
they have me back.
It's safe. I was gonna say it's safe to say that Internals in Eternals 2, I'm pretty sure because Erisham the Judge is still around.
Well, he's as we know, that's quite a big. For those of you who haven't seen it, but he plays a pretty big part of the story arc. Look, if they just signed what's his name to a 3-picture $100 million deal, what's his name? He shows up at the Harry Styles, who shows up at the end, and all the girls scream. And look, if he's coming back and they just sign him for a big deal, I thought, well, okay, I'm not getting that kind of dough, but I'm hoping
Oh yeah.
that they would have me back, but who knows? They don't tell me anything. I came in on the project when it was like pretty much almost wrapped. They all had been, shot. Everything had been done. They had to, put me in, and we started with my voice. We kind of, played around with it, and then you guys seen Prometheus, Michael Fassbender in the movie where he's the
Yes.
robot, and
Yeah.
Well, I suggested, what about like a Michael Fassbender sort of thing, very soft, but we sort of in here very. Because he couldn't get too. He's a god, so he doesn't need to yell at all. He just needs to speak. And so we played around with that, and so we kind of settled on that style, but with my voice. And then they phased it a little bit, and that's they come up with this person. It had to be clean sounding because if it was too deep, if you guys know in music and in sound. If it's too deep, it doesn't come clean, doesn't transfer, you can't understand it. So his voice had to be here. Cersei, it is time. So this is where we were, here. I will return for judgment. And they took that, and it sounded clean. And then when they pitched it, and you can understand, and it sounds good. You can't pitch it lower if it's a lower voice. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to start here, so they have room to kind of play and mold it a little bit. But the performance it's like walking a voice actor tightrope. It's so you can't be excited. It's very you know what I mean. You can't. Oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think.
Can't go either way.
Yeah, you got to be very careful about pushing too much one way or too much the other.
Right.
It can't be too soft. But it can't be, it's got to be, it's just 3 bears, it's got to be not too cold, no, too hot, no, it's got to be just right. And you got to, stay on that. You're saying a lot of words, exposition. You got to stay on that damn rope and not deviate. So it was hard work. It was, 3-4 hour sessions and a lot of fun, but it was to keep in the zone and to focus and to just be in here and, it takes energy. And you kind of realize that, whew. That's like the voiceover version of digging ditches, man.
Which is very hard. We've done that.
Yeah, we've all done that. We've all, everyone should bloody well dig a ditch once in life to know how freaking hard it is.
Oh yeah.
And then you get that analogy. But yeah, it was a trip. It was just so cool, and what an honor.
Man.
You're like, you don't
Yeah, I'm
understand.
blown
Like,
away.
we're blown away because we've been following this whole Marvel thing, and we know what's coming. When we seen your character come into the screen, it's like, oh my gosh, they're going there with it. Like,
Yeah. Well, do you
it's
remember? Do you remember that? What was Guardians of the Galaxy?
yeah.
Remember? We
He
saw the character showed up.
it
Little
was
it was a little. Do you remember the Guardians of the Galaxy? There was it was a little version of it. You could see him in the background. If you go back and look at
Yes.
the last one, he shows up. It's a little what do you call it? Easter egg sort of thing.
Right.
Erisham is in there.
I
Oh,
remember.
Yeah, so if you want to rewatch that, you'll go, oh, there he is. There he is. There, yeah.
yeah,
Because I remember that's how we knew the Eternals was coming.
yeah, because
Yeah.
when we seen Airship, I'm like, oh my gosh, if the Eternals in here, you got Galactus coming pretty soon. Like this
There's
whole
all that.
is all of
Yep.
this is what's coming next. This is
They're
this
going to
next
have
phase
to.
of Marvel.
They're
Yes.
going to have to wrap it up. Yeah.
Oh my God, like
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that. I'm pretty sure he will be back. I know
Well, I'm
Marvel.
crossing my fingers. It's Hollywood's a cruel place. You know.
Yeah, but good work is good work. If you're
Yeah.
doing this slamming it out the park like that,
No,
I
they
don't
were
understand.
happy. They were very happy. Chloe was
Yeah.
happy. They were all no. It was they were very happy. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we appreciate you. I
for
don't
real.
because we just fanned out more than anything.
Yeah. There's another one too. Remember that?
Oh, he made
Yeah,
Man.
Master of the Universe.
Have you seen that? That's
Oh, they
another one that we
redid
showed.
it. They redid
Couple versions. Kevin Smith did one version, and we did the other version. I don't understand how that all works, but I don't ask a lot of questions. But they cast me as Battle Cat, and I was talking about being kids. When I was younger, He-Man was one of the ones I used to watch because friends of mine were in it. And back when I was in Vancouver, early on, starting out in the late '80s, I was in radio, and I knew some of the people that were doing cartoons, and they were doing and I was so jealous. I go, oh my God, they're doing. How do I get in that? How do I And here many years later, I get a chance to play, bring life to Battle Cat. But again, that's another version did you guys watch Game of Thrones at all?
Yes.
He's the Liam, the actor who is the red witch, and then that king, and the red witch is trying to
Yeah.
and he's in this the Liam character is the right hand man to that king. He says, "Not a good idea, sir. I think it's a good idea." He didn't like her at all. He did not trust her. But that actor combined with Liam Neeson, and I came up with a voice for this character because I wanted him to be a protector, to protect the king at all costs, protect Adam. So I had a bit of a Liam Neeson feel, and a bit of that other Liam from the Game of Thrones, and I had this sort of thing. So it's just a variation of me, but as a protector, and he's got claws, and that's how I came up with that guy. And I love that character. There's something about of all the stuff I've done. I love everything, but I love playing Cringer in Battle Cat because again, I think it's partly because of my childhood. He's an iconic character, and it's an iconic cartoon, and yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's sort of it's I don't know, Liam Neeson he's Irish American, and he's up in here. He has a big nose, so you kind of key on that. You kind of scrunch your nose a bit nasally in here. I don't know who you are, I don't know what you want, but I will find you and I will kill you. Particular set of skills.
Oh shit.
So you use some of that, and you it's layering in stuff, and I don't even know how I really do it. I just kind of play around. And notice I only wear one headphone. Because if you wear two headphones, you start to listen to yourself, and you don't have because when we record in animation, we either use no headphones because you want to hear your own. That's your natural voice. You want to hear what it sounds like in reality, but I want to hear the texture in my one side from the mic. So I love this Peluso man, this beauty, and I want to hear the real person out on this ear. So that's why I only use one headphone. I want to hear the rumble or the texture, and then I want to hear what it really sounds like with it off the other ear.
And here's something I've never told anybody else. This is the first. But when I recorded Beast Wars, and back in the day when we were working in Vancouver, it was always two headphones. It was I don't know if it was a Canadian thing, but down here they didn't use headphones, and I listened to it back, and that's why I would like to have another stab at it, because with the two headphones on, it's you start listening to, oh, the sound of my voice sounds wonderful, doesn't? And so you lose a bit of the real sound here. You know what I'm talking about? So all those episodes are recorded with cans over the years, and I always thought, God, I should have. Why didn't I know? But we didn't know, you know.
Experience.
Yeah, experience. And now I can't do it any other way. And a lot of times I won't even use the headphones. I don't want to just see. I want to hear the room. I want to hear, what it's sounding like. Because the engineer will fix all that stuff. If they're not liking what they're hearing, they're gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yo, you were like
Tidbits.
blowing my mind.
Tasty tidbits there.
But everybody had two in Canada. They're all doing it with the two on, and I come down here to do shows, and I'm like, what's that? And did Scooby Doo for the first time. And number one, I always stand. Like, I'm always standing. I'm always, when I'm working, I'm standing like that, because I'm up, everything's open, and I can do all kinds of things and be physical. I can't sit. Tara Strong and Gray Delisle and everybody else and Frank, they sit in the Scooby Doo.
Goats.
Yeah, they're all goats, and they sit. And I remember my first episode of Scooby Doo, and I'm thinking all excited because, oh my God, Scooby Doo! I realized that I was a kid 50 years ago, and Frank was Scooby, and he was okay, and he did that. And I looked over and I went, holy shit, that's Frank Welker. And I'm the only one standing. It's like I have a bunch of children. There's Gray here, and they're all sitting down. I'm looking down on everybody. Like, all right, children, time to do a cartoon, And I can't sit. So that was the number one thing about the working with them all. But oh my God, what a thrill, because I got to hear Frank do like, okay. What'd you do for 2 Scooby snacks? How about 3 Scooby snacks? Okay. And it was like, it blew my mind. But I got the chance to say the famous words that we all know that come from Scooby-Doo, and that is, I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids. And I go, I said it. I got the line. And I was so thrilled. I'm driving home, and it's L.A., and it's sunny. I got the line. And no one else could give a crap, because But to me, that was like, I've made it. Mom, I've made it. I said the line.
Yo, that is the most.
That was amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because we got the line too.
You got the line too. And my favorite characters up there, I always, it's from my childhood. Where is he? I'll bring it down. Where is it? It's this guy here. You may or may not remember. You probably be. If you're older than I, you're not older than I am. I know that. And,
let's see.
What's it's a good friend of mine drew that. Vincent Price. Do you remember Vincent Price? You ever watch any of those old movies?
He looks familiar.
If you haven't, he was the narrator in the Michael Jackson's The Thriller. Remember the deep is what was it?
Yeah.
He was the voice. And yes, and he spoke like this, and he used to do these old movies and introduce, it was a dark and stormy night, and he had this voice. And I used him a lot in Scooby-Doo. But so all these influences from my childhood and this particular character, that's how I come up with all this stuff. He has this thing. He's very Shakespearean, British. Anyway. So you go and search Vincent Price, and there's
I just did.
I am.
the macabre. And if you watch him, he has the most amazing voice, and it's so freaking creepy, and it's great, of course, coming into the Halloween season. And he's like a legendary sort of. But listen to like Morgan Freeman, Vincent Price, all these voices that are storytellers, and they take you to another place. That's
Very
who
distinct.
my influences are.
You know who's a very influential guy? The guy that does all the stuff for National Geographic. when they just film the animals and he's just speaking, he's bringing you into the
David
jungle.
Attenborough. Yeah.
Yes. Oh
So
my
do
god.
you know if you search? I did a thing for NFL football last season, and it was I've done a lot of David Attenborough stuff, and if you look onto, I'm just going to do something quick here. Attenborough. Let me just say. So they asked me to do videos quickly. I'm sorry. I won't do anything.
That's no problem.
Um, so
You,
David
you
Attenborough,
forget you're watching animals.
Yeah.
You know.
Moments. Top 5 moments. Where is it? Yeah. So listen.
2 hours and 20 miles later. So I'm 93. He does David Attenborough. I'm 93. It's, two animals who, what was somebody saying? 4,000 miles later, the animals arrive in New Zealand. And, and it's so there's a scratchiness. He's 93, so he's up here. He's very proper, very British. And you do this Attenborough thing. And the eagles soar high as and below the animals wait for their inevitable doom. And it's sort of breathy, and so I listen to that, and I try and find where he is. He's in here. He has a British accent, and so he breathes and lives. And what a lot of people forget to do when they're creating characters is to let the character breathe. It's not just saying the line, words all the way down. Sometimes when you and we're talking right now, there are moments when we stop, we pause, we take a breath, that's giving the character human qualities. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay.
So when David Attenborough speaks, he takes a moment to think and to read. And that's where the nuance and the texture comes in here. And when he says here, it's almost like he's breathing here. And so it's just all, I love Attenborough. He's one of my favorite. It's such a wonderful voice and a guy who knows how to tell a story. And because this is really what it's all about. It's just telling stories, man. It's all we're doing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You are.
There's an NFL. There's an opening for a Seattle Seahawks game I did, and it was in the vein of David Attenborough. It might be on the website somewhere, but I know it's.
I'm gonna check it out.
So you just did that, and and when you did that, they were just like, did they look at each other like?
Well,
okay.
I didn't see them, but I know the guys. I've done a lot of work for Fox Sports and done narrative openings for World to World Series and NFL football and Hockey down in Canada, and it's all very storytelling. And I know that when I did the Attenborough thing, I know that the guy, one of the writers from Fox Sports, it was like basically like, dude, that's scary. And so I thought, okay, I've come close. In a few words. If he said, "Dude, that's scary," I go, "All right, I'm on the ballpark. There I am."
Yo,
but
dude,
it's all when you got it's all about using your ears, and you as musicians know that these are probably the top tools. The top 2-3 tools in your toolbox. You gotta have because you got to know number one. Okay, that sucks. How do we fix it? And then when you fix it and make it better. That's when you can call yourself a professional. Because if you do something, you go, no, let me do that again. And then you do it and fix it, and it's better. You go, okay, now that's when that's in the professional territory. Musicians do that, when they're creating beats, creating music, creating stuff. They listen to something, it's like, not there. They add some texture. They add some little something. They add a little something. They create something. When you're creating a beat, for example, you can turn a vacuum on and record that sound, and then put that through some processors, and you have this weird little sound, and it adds something interesting to the beat or the song, and it's something completely different than anybody else would think of. And that's the same idea as what we're doing here, creating voices. We're adding layers and textures and trying things. D. Bradley Baker is a good friend of mine, and just to watch him work is insane. And D's one of these guys will use a can, and he will create this voice with a can. I'm in here. So, okay, that's interesting. When I did TF Animated, I did the Insecticon. So I used the mandibles. I saw the picture of the character. He was an insect. So the insects have mandibles in here. So I talk like this, like that. I just push my jaws. Yeah, we are a hive. We are Insecticons. And I had to do the job with my hand here. But that's how you create layers and interesting things to come up with a character. You don't have to use just standard coming up with a goofy voice. You can use a can to create some sort of a can. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that'll work. Somebody listens to that and they go, "Oh, that's kind of cool."
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
There's lessons, just little tricks, little things you learn over the years.
Oh my
Amazing.
gosh.
Yeah,
I feel like a kid in
incredible.
a candy store right now. You don't understand. Like I'm like nerding out to the 10th power.
They're Candy Kid.
You can't.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yo.
This is
Like
great. This is great.
this
This is great.
But you wanted me to come up with. You wanted me to use a couple of voices on the show.
Oh
so I
my-
had to-
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
to bring out something.
You dug
Yeah.
deep. You dug deep in your magic hat of tricks. Okay.
That's why we were just taken aback by
Yeah, I was
and to transform just like that. Yeah, it was a truly amazing experience.
amazing.
Oh my
God.
gosh, yo.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's fun. I mean, God, man, it's fun. What else can you say? It's like, I try and teach my son and my daughter. I said, look, if you find something you can do for the rest of your life, don't even think about the money. Think about if you have a job that you can look forward to getting up on Monday and doing, then you found something special, Because if you can't, because I'm at a point where like I Fridays are like, yeah, okay, because I know that I'm not gonna unless I do the work for last week tonight. We always record on Saturdays, so there's sometimes I'm working Saturdays, but other times it's like Friday comes around, I'm like I guess I gotta work out or something on Saturday or whatever. Like, but Monday it's like, all right, what do we got? Bring it, come on, what do we got? Give me something, hit me. And I'm anxious to get going. And I love that. So whatever you do, it doesn't have to be voiceover stuff, but whatever you do in life, if you find something like that where you can't, all right, let's go. That's magic, man.
I admire that. I admire that very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Don't ever, and got people who listening or whatever. Don't ever think about. Don't make money the motivator. Don't ever. That is the worst thing you can possibly do. Make it about being happy. Honestly, because we got one go around, and the world is in a weird place right now, and we all know it's just you gotta be happy, man.
Yes.
And so make that your motivation.
Man,
Happiness.
True words were never spoken.
Yeah, happiness is key.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yo.
We definitely appreciate you for spending some time with us.
Man.
Oh, guy, what a joy! Talk about joy. You guys are awesome. So now where are you?
Well, me and Kev are in Jersey. Dre used to be in Jersey. He just moved to Florida.
I'm in Florida.
How and you're fine. Everything's you weren't affected or what's
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm like closer to like on the side where Miami is, but on the other side of Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got it really bad.
I'll be in Pensacola in February.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like
so
a trip.
I'm not sure if that's, but I'm saying it. So I'll be in. That's the February, and I think James Arnold Taylor and myself, first time we've ever been together at a con. So as Ratchet and Clank, like together, I think we'll be in Pensacola in February.
Let me see how far that is from me. I'm new to
It's
Florida.
probably like 4 hours, 4 hours or so.
Yeah,
And I want to come to. See, I haven't been to New York. I usually go to New York fairly often, but I haven't been. But I'm going to be in Chicago coming up at the TF Con October 21st, 23rd. I'm looking forward to Chicago. There's a restaurant that I want to hit downtown, man. James Beard Award winner, and there's a couple places I'm going to try and hit when I'm in there. But we're out at the airport near O'Hare, and that's TFCon. And I'm in the Washington State Toy Show. That's November the 5th and 6th in Puyallup, just south of Seattle. I'll be up there signing. And at that one, I can tell you that Gary Chalk and Ian Corlett and myself, the original Beast Wars crew, will be signing autographs and stuff and toys there at the Washington State Toy Fair. And then SAC Anime, I think it's SAC Anime. I'm in Sacramento, I think, in January as well. So that's the early. It's the few shows I know.
Yeah,
SAC
man.
Anime at Kev.
I am an anime
Yeah.
I am an anime
Why don't
junkie.
you
That's
come out? Let's do a live show. Let's do Join Me at Sec Anime in January. Set it up. Let's do something.
Give me the date. Yeah,
I'll write it down.
Yeah, you can find it. It must be on the
interweb.
interweb somewhere. But yeah, that'd be cool, man.
That
Hey,
would
look,
some of
be
that.
awesome, actually.
Epic. Epic.
Yeah.
Anime.
I'm excited just hearing stuff
Get
like
out to
that.
the
Because
West
there's
Coast.
a bunch of shows I can't tell you anything about at the moment. Maybe by that time I can mention one or two of them.
Oh,
There's some good stuff coming out.
Inside scoops.
Yeah, I
All right.
can't say anything.
we can travel. Trust me.
Yeah,
We can
I'll
travel
double,
for
I'll
sure.
double check. I'll double check.
Our whole studio setup is all mobile, and we
Yep.
can just
That'd be
yes.
fun. That'd be great if we could do that. That'd be fun.
Oh, January 6th to
January
January
6th
8th.
to 8th. Yep.
Yeah, 6 to
Let's
8.
do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right.
don't forget us when you see us, the Opinionated Podcast. We're gonna come
No,
out.
just we'll set it up. Just yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, after we sign off in here, just the email Nicole or Michelle and just say and we'll have some time. We'll set it up.
Oh my gosh, that's
That'd be
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
6th
Yeah.
to 8th. All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Listen,
Kev, you want to take us out of here, Kev?
Well, first
Listen.
off, you blew us away. Amazing. You know what I mean? You're the GOAT of our childhood when it comes to
Don't make me cry
anime,
again.
cartoons, weekends. We dedicated our time to your voices, antics. Man, this right here is legendary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
this
It's,
is-
you made my my month, if not year.
Appreciate you.
Legendary.
I appreciate y'all, everybody. Listen, if you're a kid from the 80s, like an 80s baby, you grew up with this voice. Please, thank you. I mean, thank you for your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. You guys are a joy. It was just so much fun.
All righty.
Perfect.
We're out of here, guys. That's the end of the show, man.
All right.
Peace.
So
All right.
good one.
We'll email you
Everything.
with. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you
Sure.
go.
Yeah. Email Nicole all the stuff. Yeah. And
Yes.
that'd be great.
Perfect.
Can't wait.
All
Excited.
right.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
No,
All right,
we
enjoy your
appreciate
night.
you.
All right.
Love y'all.
Love
All
you.
right. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.